The young and the restless spoilers. Alan's voice wavered with a desperate intensity as he repeatedly insisted, "All I do is love Tracy." His declaration, meant to serve as both reassurance and justification, reverberated through the tense silence that had settled over the group. Yet even as he spoke, doubts swirled in the minds of those gathered. The truth, it seemed, was tangled in a web of conflicting memories and unanswered questions that threatened to shatter long-held beliefs. At the center of this emotional maelstrom were two brothers whose lives had been irrevocably intertwined with the fate of their loved ones. Alan maintained his unwavering claim that his actions, no matter how controversial, were driven solely by his love for Tracy. But not everyone was convinced. Martin Laurent, the enigmatic sibling with a shadowy past, had been implicated in a brutal attack on Ashley. Though Martin might have been capable of understanding the shock and trauma that Ashley endured, he was adamant that he was not the man responsible for the harrowing events that had upended their lives. Ashley's voice, tinged with a mix of anguish and steely determination, cut through the mounting tension. "I know who you are and what you did to me," she declared, her words echoing the pain of a betrayal too deep to ignore. "You're nothing but human trash," she spat, her harsh indictment aimed squarely at the man who had once commanded trust. The raw emotion in her tone underscored the betrayal that had left her feeling exposed and vulnerable. In the midst of the heated exchange, Chance Chancellor stepped forward. Recognizing that the labyrinthine case of the kidnapping required more than accusations and suspicions, Chance turned to Laurent with a grave announcement. "You need to come with me," he stated firmly. "There are questions about the kidnapping that only you can help answer." His tone conveyed both authority and urgency, as if each word were a plea for clarity in a situation where confusion reigned supreme. Tracy, caught between the conflicting narratives and her own tumultuous feelings, could no longer contain her burning need for answers. "Why did you torture Sharon and Phyllis?" she demanded, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and heartbreak. The question hung in the air like a specter of guilt and despair, a question that sought to unravel the motives behind actions that defied explanation. Laurent, caught off guard by the raw emotion of the moment, could only offer a baffled reply. "Everything's insane," he muttered, his confusion mirroring the chaos that had become their lives. As the confrontation escalated, Jack's voice broke through the clamor, filled with an air of ominous certainty. "The truth is about to be exposed," he warned, his eyes scanning the room for those who might be ready to face the impending consequences. Jack's declaration was both a promise and a threat, a promise that the lies and deceptions would soon come to light, and a warning that the fallout from this revelation would be uncontainable. Before the situation could spiral out of control, Chance acted quickly, stepping in to hold Jack back. His intervention was a calculated move to prevent further chaos, a reminder that while the truth might be inevitable, its unveiling had to be handled with care and precision. In that delicate moment, every character was forced to confront the duality of their roles: victims, conspirators, or perhaps unwitting participants in a grander design. Not to be sidelined, Ashley advanced once again, her determination undimmed by the escalating tension. She moved purposefully toward Alan, her eyes alight with the fire of retribution. "You need to answer for what you've done," she said, her tone a blend of challenge and sorrow. Alan, however, continued to appear bewildered. His eyes, filled with a mix of regret and confusion, pleaded for understanding as he reminded them of all the time they had spent together. "How could you have misjudged me so?" he implored, a single question laden with the weight of a lifetime of shared memories and misplaced trust. In the midst of the turmoil, Ashley turned to her sister with a solemn assurance that seemed to anchor the storm of accusations swirling around them. "Don't blame yourself," she said, her voice gentle but resolute. "I know you're hurting, but it's Martin who must take responsibility for everything." Her words underscored the deep-seated belief that, while both brothers were entangled in the web of deceit and misfortune, the true culprit was Martin, the one whose actions had directly harmed her and upended the delicate balance of trust. Jack, who had been observing the scene with a knowing grimace, interjected with a bitter confession. "I've deceived you all," he admitted, the weight of his own culpability evident in his tone. His admission served as a stark reminder that in this labyrinth of twisted loyalties and secret ambitions, no one was free from blame. Jack's confession, laden with regret, hinted at a deeper conspiracy, a scheme that had been brewing behind the scenes, where truth and deception danced a perilous tango. As the voices continued to clash and the room filled with the echoes of confessions and denials, Ashley's frustration mounted once more. "I don't even know you two well enough," she told her sister, her words a mixture of exasperation and sorrow. "How can we compare you when I've seen nothing but lies and broken promises?" Her statement resonated with the painful reality that, despite years of familial bonds and shared experiences, the truth about the two brothers remained elusive. A truth that was obscured by layers of manipulation and betrayal. The stakes were higher than ever. Alan's insistence that his every action was an expression of love for Tracy was being met with an overwhelming tide of evidence pointing to a more sinister reality. The possibility that Martin's influence had seeped into the core of their relationships, tainting what once seemed pure, loomed large over every conversation. For Tracy, who had loved with an unguarded heart, the revelation was both a personal and existential crisis. Her internal battle between the man she adored and the possibility of his darker, hidden motives was a poignant reminder of the delicate interplay between love and deceit. Meanwhile, Chance's determination to solve the kidnapping case became more than a professional obligation, it was a quest for redemption and clarity. Each step he took brought him closer to the heart of the mystery, yet every answer only deepened the uncertainty. The duality of the situation? Where one brother's love was pitted against the other's malevolence, was a conundrum that threatened to upend not only individual lives but the entire social fabric of Genoa City. In this complex tableau of emotions and revelations, every character was forced to re-examine their understanding of loyalty, responsibility, and trust. Alan's anguished claims of love were now marred by the undeniable evidence of betrayal and violence. Martin's dark deeds, particularly the attack on Ashley, cast a long shadow over the fragile bonds of kinship and friendship. And as the truth began to emerge, layer by intricate layer, the audience could feel the weight of every secret, every hidden motive, and every heart broken in the wake of the unfolding drama. As the confrontation reached its fever pitch, the stakes could no longer be ignored. The impending exposure of the truth promised not only to shatter the illusions that had kept the characters tethered to a semblance of normalcy but also to force each of them to confront the repercussions of their choices. With the lines between love, hate, loyalty, and betrayal increasingly blurred, the narrative had reached a critical juncture, a point where every decision could alter the course of lives forever. In the coming days, as Chance works tirelessly to piece together the fragments of the case, as Jack grapples with the consequences of his deception, and as Ashley, Tracy, and the others search for meaning amid the chaos, one thing remains certain: the truth will be revealed, and its impact will be seismic. The intricate tapestry of relationships, long woven with threads of passion, fear, and ambition, is on the brink of unraveling. And when it does, the fallout will leave no one untouched, challenging every character to redefine who they are in the aftermath of betrayal. Ultimately, this saga is more than a tale of kidnapping, love, and familial strife. It is a study of the human condition, a testament to the complexity of emotions and the unpredictability of fate. In the end, whether Alan's professed love for Tracy was genuine or merely a veneer for darker deeds, the truth must prevail. And as each character faces the consequences of their actions, the final reckoning will force them to confront the question that has haunted them all: can love truly conquer the darkness that lies within, or is it destined to be overshadowed by the inescapable reality of betrayal? Nick and Sharon, their expressions etched with concern and determination, stepped into Crimson Lights, a familiar, cozy diner that had long served as a safe haven for those caught in the whirlwind of Genoa City's scandals. Tonight, however, Crimson Lights was transformed into a clandestine meeting spot where truth, paranoia, and hope would intermingle. Joining them was Phyllis, who, though visibly exhausted and on the brink of despair, carried an unmistakable glimmer of resolve in her eyes. They had come together to discuss the latest revelations from Chance Chancellor, whose recent findings had deepened an already convoluted mystery. As they settled into a secluded booth, the trio wasted no time recounting the disturbing discoveries. Chance had learned that the kidnappers, whose sinister motives remained shrouded in ambiguity, had installed a sophisticated device at a farmhouse, a secret outpost that served as the nerve center for their illicit operations. Adding to the sense of violation was the unsettling fact that the intruders had not only abducted them but had also confiscated their personal phones. The stolen devices were a double-edged sword. While they denied the victims a direct line to help, they also left behind a digital trail that might eventually lead to the truth. Phyllis, whose patience had long been tested by the relentless series of misfortunes, was uncharacteristically forceful. "I want to nail those Laurent twins to the wall," she declared, her voice simmering with righteous anger. The Laurent twins, whose involvement had been hinted at in whispers and half-truths, had become the symbol of the torment that had invaded her life. Phyllis's desire for retribution was palpable. She craved a swift end to the nightmare that had consumed her days. Nick, ever the mediator with a calm demeanor, interjected as he tried to temper the escalating tension. "Listen, the police don't have authentic evidence yet, but they're on the right track," he explained. His voice, steady and reassuring, was meant to remind everyone that despite the swirling suspicions and hurtful accusations, there was a methodical investigation underway. Even though the evidence had yet to materialize into something incontrovertible, the progress provided a glimmer of hope in the otherwise murky darkness. Despite Nick's reassurances, both Phyllis and Sharon could feel the unbearable weight of their ordeal. Phyllis's eyes brimmed with unshed tears as she confessed, "I want this to be over. I can't take it anymore." Sharon, whose pain was etched across every line of her face, echoed the sentiment. "I'm exhausted," she admitted softly, her voice barely audible over the ambient hum of the diner. In that moment, the three women recognized that they were lucky, truly lucky, to have each other and a small circle of people who cared deeply about their well-being. Among the assembled, the red-haired newcomer, whose fiery locks were as vibrant as her spirit, stepped forward. With unyielding determination, she declared that she needed to confront the person who had inflicted this torment upon her. "I need to look that person in the eyes and tell them they didn't hurt me," she vowed. Her words resonated deeply with everyone in the booth. They were not merely a promise of defiance but a rallying cry for reclaiming dignity in the face of cruelty. In an effort to alleviate the tension, Sharon rose to fetch a steaming cup of coffee for Phyllis. The small gesture of kindness sparked a fleeting moment of levity amidst the gravity of the situation. As Phyllis cradled the warm cup in her hands, she and Sharon began to share a quiet joke about how they sometimes felt as if they could read each other's minds, a humorous nod to the profound connection that had developed between them over months of shared suffering and trust. The brief exchange of laughter was a balm for their battered spirits, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there could be sparks of human warmth and understanding. As the conversation resumed, Nick confessed something that surprised them all. "I'm still getting used to the way you all treat each other," he admitted with a wry smile, a statement that carried a mix of admiration and a hint of bewilderment. It was a sentiment that summed up the extraordinary camaraderie among the group, a bond forged in adversity, tempered by shared trials, and illuminated by the hope that one day the truth would prevail. Yet, even as they found solace in their connection, the question that gnawed at their minds remained unresolved: why were they being targeted? Theories swirled like autumn leaves in a storm. Sharon, her eyes narrowing with conviction, was adamant that all of this was nothing more than an experiment, a twisted, elaborate test conducted by a malevolent force. In her mind, the entire ordeal seemed contrived, a meticulously orchestrated series of events designed to manipulate emotions and control destinies. The idea that their lives were pawns in a dangerous game was both chilling and perplexing. Phyllis, still seething with anger, leaned forward. "We need to know the why behind this madness," she demanded. "Why are the Laurent twins involved? And why were our phones taken?" Her questions were directed at both the unseen captors and the murky past of the people implicated in this diabolical experiment. It was a quest not only for justice but for clarity, a desperate need to understand the rationale behind a series of events that had upended her world. Nick, ever the voice of reason, reminded them that the investigation was making progress, albeit slowly. "The evidence is coming in bit by bit," he said, trying to instill a sense of patience. "We may not have the full picture yet, but every small detail adds up. The police are working hard, and Chance is following every lead." His words were a gentle reminder that while the truth was elusive, it was not entirely out of reach. As the night deepened, the conversation turned toward personal reflections. The trio, each bearing scars both visible and hidden, found a moment of respite in sharing their thoughts and vulnerabilities. They discussed the complexities of trust and the challenges of forging genuine connections in a world where betrayal lurked around every corner. The redhead's fierce determination to confront her tormentor, Phyllis's burning need for vengeance, and Sharon's quiet strength in the face of overwhelming odds created a tapestry of resilience and vulnerability. In that intimate corner of Crimson Lights, the bonds of friendship and shared suffering began to mend the fractured pieces of their hearts. They talked about the paradox of their situation, the irony that, in the midst of such relentless darkness, they had found light in each other. The memory of lost trust and shattered dreams was juxtaposed with the promise of a future where they might reclaim control over their own destinies. As they eventually prepared to leave, a sense of cautious optimism lingered in the air. The unresolved questions, the stolen devices, and the ominous presence of the device at the farmhouse were still sources of anxiety, but for a moment, the simple act of coming together had given them strength. They agreed to stay in close contact, determined to share any new information as soon as it surfaced. They knew that the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but together, they felt a renewed determination to fight back against the forces that sought to manipulate and control them. In the days that followed, the investigation would intensify, and every new piece of evidence would add another layer to the mystery. The Laurent twins, with their ambiguous past and questionable motives, would be scrutinized further, while the origins of the experiment and its unsettling implications for everyone involved remained the subject of fevered speculation. But for now, in that quiet moment at Crimson Lights, Nick, Sharon, and Phyllis found solace in their shared strength and the knowledge that, no matter how dark the night might be, there was always the possibility of dawn. This meeting was not the end of their ordeal, it was merely a pause, a moment of reflection amid the chaos. The underlying questions of identity, motive, and survival would continue to haunt them, urging them to dig deeper and uncover the truth behind the experiment that had turned their lives upside down. And as they left Crimson Lights, each with a sense of purpose and a glimmer of hope, they carried with them the unspoken promise that they would not rest until justice was served, and the shadows that had long held sway over their lives were finally dispelled.